Alrighty, man.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. So far, you're the second interviewee. Merc was um, about an hour ago, and then you, and then I have Jedi tomorrow, and that's all I got lined up so far. What about you?
Nice. Just finished our broker recove.
Ah,
Uh,
sick.
Waiting for some buddies to get on mic and into some high comps or something.
Nice. Okay, well, let's get started. I
We,
only have a couple questions for you. It shouldn't take too long. Um, okay, so when did you get started into like when you were playing like I don't know how you started Halo, COD or whatever. But when did you first start like okay, I actually want to start like trying. I want to like try to get like really
all
good.
right, all right. Uh, Back in Black Ops 2, I think it was they had something called the PDW. It was a submachine gun.
Yeah,
Uh, it was I played hardcore mode because I liked the fast kill times and I fell in love with it because it was like a laser beam
yeah,
and one shot to the head, to the body. I like the kill times. That was something that really, caught my attention. I got really good at COD. Ended up getting top five on the search and destroy leaderboards before all the modded lobbies came out.
dang.
Uh, After Black Ops 2, it kind of fell down. I didn't like any of the CODs that came out. Then I had some buddies that I worked with at a grocery store at the time. It was my freshman year of high school. They were telling me about this game that you can go in with your friends and fight bosses and whatnot, and it was a shooting game. And I thought it sounded like the coolest thing ever,
Yeah.
and then I ended up getting the game. I started doing the raids, and they had something called the Thorn, and I fell in love with it. Like the whole hand cannon aspect was like that fast kill time.
Mm,
They had all the grenades, the different movements, the supers, there was just so much that went into it, and it was almost like a game of chess,
yeah.
and I wasn't I wasn't the best at the beginning. I looked at like my old stats. I went flawless five times the first year the trials came out. I went flawless the first week that it came out, not knowing what flawless was.
Right.
And and towards the end of Destiny 1, I started meeting some really cool people that streamed, Brandon 14, Amu. Then I ran into Grandioso Allen, Twitcher Tag, and Complexity, and they were all really good Destiny 1 players. And came over to Destiny 2, and it was the Mida meta, and there was double primaries,
Yeah.
and
That was Might of Last Hope
I
or
I
Might of
was
Uriel.
well, yeah, Mida Last Hope, Mida Uriels, and I fell in love with it because I felt like it was a skill gap,
Mm-hmm.
not just by guns, but by thinking,
Well, definitely.
and it was about rotations, where you're at on the map, where you need to get a kill at in order to advance, to get control of the map.
Mm-hmm.
There was team shotting involved. There was knowing where to send
No, there
three
there
people
had
or
to
two
be team
people.
shooting. You couldn't solo
There
anything.
had to be. There had to be. There was no gun in the game unless you got the Aniope with the kill clip that you could man army with.
Right.
And whenever the
Jeez, give
they
me
made the last
throwback
hope
vibes here.
nerf,
Jeez.
yes. Then they came out with that little tweak that they did to the last hope so that you couldn't just spam the trigger.
Yeah.
I switched over from I switched from Nida Last Hope to Better Devils Foggy Notion,
Oh.
and
Okay.
it it was a weird play style for me. I had never played anything like that before. The shoot someone a couple times, your Better Devils, and stomp you jump at them with your Foggy Notion.
Right.
But I like the fact of how teams in Destiny were used to sitting back or, playing really passive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a team with two or three hand cannon subs that just held forward, you couldn't do anything about it?
Oh yeah.
And at this point in time, I was playing with my good buddies Eva and Amu, and whenever we had a really good thing going on, we would go 3, 4 weeks in a row doing trials carries and wouldn't lose a game. We'd play 100 to 200 games a weekend, and we just wouldn't lose. We'd beat all
Jeez.
kinds of crazy good teams, top tier players, and it was just we had our chemistry going. And
Oh yeah.
I never really considered it competitive gameplay because majority of the time you're matching those teams that could hardly shoot their gun back,
Oh my god, yeah.
or they would
Mhm.
just panic
Oh yeah.
because we all play at really high sensitivity and people were used to sitting back with low sensitivity. So we would hold forward with, like our arc bolts and our melees and our submachine guns and like
Just going
we had
overwhelmed.
elite controllers jumping over people's heads while we're aiming down, stuff like that, like just completely overwhelming people.
Right.
And then they made that little tweak to hand cannons that helped with the bloom, that helped out with the Better Devils playstyle.
Right.
Uh, then they had competitive, and I liked it in the beginning, but then they had that breakthrough game mode that they inserted into competitive after 1 week of it bringing into the game, and that just completely killed my whole vibe for the whole like competitive Destiny scene because like that game mode was so terrible,
Hmm.
and it felt like you did it every 2 out of 5 games in comp,
Right.
and it really pushed me away from Destiny. That was during the initial Redrick season. I got Redrick the first week it came out and didn't feel the need to, get to 5,500 for a shader on a pulse rifle that I would never use.
Right.
And I switched over to Apex, me and Amu.
Okay.
Um, not Apex, I'm sorry, Fortnite.
Uh,
And we got on the duos leaderboards together for the first week and a half of season 2.
okay.
We were really grinding that game really hard. Yeah. And then we got into like some wager matches a little bit, but then there was the whole random loot thing that would always like we'd be so far in a tournament and then, on our final game we'd land on like the worst loot possible or no guns,
Right.
and get killed off the bat.
Hmm.
So like we didn't like that part of the competitive scene. And then a couple months went by, we kept playing Fortnite. Then they had which update was that? Whenever I don't think it was a major update. It was just a change in it wasn't a complete sandbox update. It was just like a minor update that they took a breakthrough out of comp. They and that was whenever we went back to Destiny.
Hmm.
We played comp. We for the past 3 seasons, including this season, I've gotten 5,500. It didn't it didn't feel like too much of a challenge though, because we had that synergy, we had the play styles.
Oh yeah. When you have a good
People
teammate,
nowadays like,
that's it. You're gonna win.
oh yeah, definitely. But nowadays it went from people sitting in the back of the map to people just holding forward with shotguns, and like we've always, Ando was definitely the better shotgunner out of me and him, and Evo was the sniper. I consider Evo the best sniper to ever play Destiny. But that's a very biased opinion because I played with him all the time.
Right.
But people would say he's one of the best, not just me. And games would just hold forward shotguns, and we just abuse our primary. Like,
Hmm.
it, Ando's been using Foggy Notion and Better Devils since whenever I was using the Might of the Last Hope. He would refuse to use anything other than a hand cannon, and that's just Ando.
Right.
Uh, I mean, then just recently, the past 2 months, is whenever I've actually like taken it kind of serious with the whole competitive side of video games, and I've been actually getting into sweats where there's restricted rules, no super mods, no like any type of like pump action or anything that if you get a kill with it or you do your shade step, you get your super back, like anything like that.
Hmm.
No duplicate subclasses, limitations on whether one or two not forgottens per team, no heavy, 7-second respawn time, only clash
Yeah.
or not countdown or control.
Okay.
Certain maps like Javelin, then there's Burning Shrine. Sometimes we'll play Dead Cliffs. That's really
Yeah.
the three like competitive maps in this game
Yeah.
that you could actually like say like, oh man, we were spawn trapped the whole game and there's nothing we could do about it,
Hmm.
or you know, or dang, they just sat in this one area of the map and we couldn't do anything about it because they get 2 kills and they hide behind these walls that you have to challenge a 50-50 gunfight with, and there'd be 3 of them right there when you'd be by yourself.
Right.
That's a whole nother discussion. But I've been doing pretty successful in the recent sweats I've been in. Not only uh, not only known as like a trial Sherpa anymore or like an Instagram clip hitter.
Right.
Uh, Most of the really top tier players have been noticing it. I've been doing a lot of recovs lately.
Mm-hmm.
Been really successful with that. But I think that Destiny isn't gonna get really competitive that I could say, hey man, like I'm good at this game and it's not because I'm using something that will make anyone good if they know how to use it, is
Right.
whenever they take out the super mods, they take out heavy spawning so often in respawn game modes,
Especially in
they
competitive.
tweak a couple. Oh yes, definitely. Because I mean, there's something that people haven't realized. Well, there's some people may know it, but they don't really know that you can capitalize on it this much. Is if you have two rocket launcher scavenger on one on your gauntlets, one on your cloak, you have two people running that. And you have two people with Warcliff catalyst.
Oh,
They can go
jeez.
pick up heavy, shoot one rocket, come back, kill themselves in clash. Not give the other team any points because it's a respawn game mode, and whenever you kill yourself, it doesn't benefit the other team at all.
Right.
Whenever your other teammate with the two scavenger mods picks it up, they have three rockets. So they can go shoot two Warcliff shots at a team, run back, and you can train that for the whole rest of the
Oh
map.
my
And there's very
gosh.
few teams that are smart enough to do that, but that is a strategy that I have resorted to in doing double carries to 5500.
Oh,
That if you get heavy one time, you win the game because it's a Warcliff catalyst. You know,
right.
like anyone in front of you is dead, and it's basically a super that you have for the entire game. And once a team realizes that someone has unlimited Warcliff, they get frustrated. You start to get in their head. They give up. You know, and
And yeah.
it's an easy game at that point. Then there's the whole chaining supers aspect with the how many orbs you can make with supers, and if you have five super mods, you pick up an orb, that's almost an eighth to depending on what super it is, you can get a quarter of your super in one orb that you pick up,
Yeah.
on
Jeez.
top of how fast it's already regenerating because you're five super mods.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very broken aspect as you know, one team gets as their super first, you can literally by the time the fourth person, like if you pop one super at a time, you keep wiping the teams with it. By the time the fourth person pops their super, the first one has a super back already because of all the orbs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about it unless you have a team with like Titans with suppressors, and that's something that can shut down supers, you know.
Oh yeah.
You can be on a suppressor Titan with five grenade mods, have your grenade back
Oh my
almost
god.
instantly if you get a kill with it if you're running middle tree. You can have the enhanced perk on your boots that give you your grenade back even faster if you put up your Titan shield. So you throw a grenade, you get a kill with it, you get like with five grenade mods, you get like 3/5 of your super back. You pop your shield, and that's your grenade back. And you can, by the time you throw your grenade again, you have your shield back. You have grenades the whole game. And not to mention, whenever you have five grenade mods, it's just like whenever they had, what was that event that they had that increased like all your
Oh,
abilities and whatnot? I didn't play
revelry.
during that time.
Yeah. No. I.
When they had the
Yeah.
revelry,
I dipped with
how
that one.
the oh yes. You could throw unlimited Titan shields because your grenade would come back faster. But if you have five grenade mods, you can. It's the same exact thing when you're in your Titan shield. You keep on getting shields back, and you become the best super in the game. You can block anything with middle tree, and you can throw unlimited shields that have apply to no law of physics or geometry, bro. Like it'll do the craziest stuff and you can wipe a team, you know, like the worst player in the game could throw a random shield and wipe a whole team,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, like
Easily.
behind I don't know how many walls. I don't know how many games I've lost in comp because I would be trying to bait a super and I'd be in the back of the map and he would throw it on my teammate in the middle of the map and it hit 3 4 walls and I'd be dead.
Yep.
You know, you can't run away from it because
No.
it's gonna keep tracking you. You know, and but whenever they make a tweak to these super mods, you know, pick a couple of these supers. I noticed that in their, not the most latest TWAB, but this last little update they had, they said that they were going to be uh, lowering the resilience that supers have, which I think might make it so you can either one-shot sniper with a high impact or a 90 RPM sniper. You can one-shot supers to the head.
Mm-hmm.
We already have the capability with box breathing on a 90 RPM, but I mean, I think any sniper,
Should be able to. Yeah.
excluding Yes, excluding a 140.
Right.
All right, that's basically a scout rifle.
Yeah.
But I think you'll also be able to shotgun melee supers, which I think you should be able to do, especially if it's a melee super.
Mm-hmm.
If I think that would create a skill gap, and it would
So
make the game less more focused around abilities and supers.
right, and
You
more
know?
focused on gun skill, which essentially is what a PvP, at least part of a game, should be.
Yes.
Right. Sick. Okay. All right. Next thing, when you start a match, you go into it. The game starts. You're just about to go. What's your first? What's your mindset? Like, what's your first thing you want to get done?
Whenever I go into a game first,
Mm-hmm. Like, okay.
so it's kind of like back in Trials, like whenever Trials was out, the big thing was to pull out your Destiny tracker, look up their KD, all that.
Yeah.
I don't look up like people's stats. I inspect their characters, see what they're running, see like what type of like what resilience, mobility, recovery they're using, see what type of the player they're
Yeah.
using.
Oh, they're all running snipers. They're
Because
probably
if
going to be kind of campy or something. Yeah.
yes, smart man. Yeah. Then that's whenever I'll be like, hey, like let's push this part of the map and cut this sniper lane in half and make it so they either have to world star quickscope us or get some type of grenade off on us in order to kill us, Or hey, they all have shotguns. Let's try to go to this area of the map at the beginning and see if we can force a primary engagement and test their skill real quick and see if we can catch them overextending or if we can make them sit back and then go with our shotgun push because they're scared of a primary engagement.
So inspect
Or
them,
maybe
check their loadouts and all their stuff, and try to use it against them.
yes, see
Oh.
what you can do. If you see a team, like if you see a team full of snipers, it may be it's not always let's put on four shotguns and hold forward because then they'll have a arc bolt or some type of suppressor that will immediately stop you from your push dead in your tracks, or they can have a last word that they can jump away with
Mm-hmm.
and hip fire you. But maybe it's hey, like let's get this part of the map under control, know a major like use your I guess experience to know where the sniper lanes are and where people like to go at the beginning of a game, where the neutral area is,
Mm-hmm.
where people sprint to straight out of their spawn, and try to work around that area in a way that you can look at what all four are running and see what their possible common goal is and try to manipulate that a bit, force them out of their comfort zone with their guns,
Right.
like if they're running like, last word sniper, try to get in that little mid-range fight that the last word's not going to be enough, but that you're staggering them enough with their primary that their sniper isn't going to be, on point every time. Or if they're running like not forgotten shotguns, try to, maybe throw on like a pulse rifle or have someone like say, hey, I'm gonna go push this angle. He's probably gonna be here with his primary, but I'm gonna slide back behind this corner, and by this point, this person would have stopped aiming down with his gun, and you could get a quick snipe off on him. Or hey, let's both put on pulse rifles, come around this corner, we'll melt the first guy, and we'll back up some and try to see if his teammates will push up, thinking that we rotated around the map and try to catch them in their sprint, or say, hey, I'm gonna go around this corner, let this guy shoot me a couple times, I'll shade step back, wait for my health, because I have high recovery, and make him make a call out to his team that I'm one shot, and you'll be right here, and we can team shot him while they're trying to push.
So
there's a whole
So the whole thing's communication and being and more of finding a good teammate that works with you really well and working with them to almost outthink the opponent.
Yes, definitely.
Sick. Okay. Um,
It,
well, that answered that. So you got something?
well, I had someone messaging me earlier. I was in the tower. He saw my loadout, I guess, and he felt the need to message me. He's like, "Hey, I'm at 2200 comp score right now. What could you recommend to me to get to 5500?" And I brought up a couple of the cheeses there is in the game. Have like at least two people on your team running Sentinel, so that way you can use the block to pretty much stop any super. You can have your suppressors to shut down supers and stop people in their engagements. Have someone maybe lean towards like a pulse rifle on a team, maybe run a fusion rifle, uh, try to set up for heavy every round. If you match a good team, and you notice you may match them a couple times a day, try to add one of them and try to search your game when they're not in a game.
Right.
And then, he went to say, he said, "Oh, yeah, it's been taking me a while to get to 2200. How much glory would you say you get a day in order to get to 5500?" And I said, "Look here, man, like I'm gonna give you some real life advice, not just video game advice. Never set your standards, whether it's a video game or real life, or someone else's. My
Yeah.
set, what I set myself for a day in comp, necessarily be what someone else does,
Right.
Like, someone may not have the time to play as much as I do, or they may not have a team that they can play with all the time. So if you have that good team, it's all about finding when to play with that team and knowing when to stop.
Right.
Because maybe you'll take a loss to the same team a couple of times when you're in high comp, and you'll just say, "Oh, well, I'm trying to match these guys and beat them." Maybe it's just not your night.
Yeah.
Maybe that team's like they're like three bangs in, and they're just they're cracked. Like, and they're not missing shots. Sometimes someone's just gonna be better than you, and
Hmm.
it's all about noticing when you should stop. And I also told them, you, if you feel like you're not the best and you don't really want to time yourself, try to play in the morning times, because all the really high tier players, they get on towards the end of the evening. They're more night owls. They're the ones that dedicate more time to the game.
Hmm.
It's just kind of how it works in video games, and you that way you'll be getting on while those teams are falling asleep, and maybe you'll play against some lesser tier teams, or maybe you'll just get a lobby full of solo queues,
Right. Which is always nice.
and that's really nice. Even whenever I solo queue 5500 comp in the mornings, like I'll be getting a lobby full of 7 solo queuers while I'm in 5500 comp, and they're all low comp score. It's just all the high comp players are off at that time, so
Hmm.
it's really easy to find games. You may be there for a minute, but you'll find, I say easy games, not how fast you'll find it, but just the tier of the game.
Right.
You know, you can be high comp and match someone in low comp.
Oh yeah.
You just have to know when to search and when not to search.
Right.
And you can look at the streamers. Majority of the really top tier teams, they stream, so you can look in their stream, see when they're in a game. You say, "Oh wait, their game's almost over. Maybe we should hold up
Right.
and let them find a game before we go into the next one."
Okay. Cool. Okay. So going back to the little bit, so you start a match, you figure out your strategy, you see their loadout, their like what they got. You have a basic idea of what their game plan is. You see them in the game. What do you do to determine? Oh, this guy is a good player. Oh, this guy is not a good player. Like, is there like a test that you do per character? Is there just a certain way you run and how they react to it, or how does that go down?
Well, there's a strategy that I use a lot. It's whether it's countdown or survival, like a round-based game mode, or if it's a respawn. You know where people the spawns are, and about like if you're sprinting, where the other teammates, well, the other person, the other team's going to see you at, and maybe if they're sitting there staying still, waiting for you to come around the corner, that tells you that they're more of, I call them a duck hunter gamer.
Yeah.
They kind of go somewhere and wait for you to come up, and they're just going to try to stand still and try to shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever whenever it's a good player is whenever they do not stand still. A top tier player never stands still. Whether they're shooting you, they're moving side to side, they're crouch strafing at the same time, like they're doing all kinds of crazy shit, and they're shooting your head while they're doing all this crazy stuff. And if someone's doing that, that's how you know that they're good.
Okay.
Not their guns, not their emblem, not their comp score.
No, because I mean, one of the best snipers in
Or
the
if
game is a blue sniper. Was Aachen? Like, so you really
yes,
can't go off a color like that.
yes.
All right. Cool.
And then there's, oh my gosh, this guy keeps shotgunning me, but maybe it's the fact that your team isn't stopping the shotgun push with primaries before they can close the gap and leap on you with a shotgun. So it may be someone who's not that good, but their whole goal is to just run at you with a shotgun and make you panic. That's not a good player in my eyes, someone who just runs at you with a shotgun.
Right.
A good player is gonna die less and value his life more than just I'm gonna go in here, get this guy one shot, and let my team clean him up.
Okay. Because that's more of like a team strategy. That's not necessarily like a good individual.
Yes.
Cool, cool. Okay, so what do you think is like the biggest thing that holds like beginners back? Because, I mean, going back, I remember there was like some sort of wall I would hit, and it's like I couldn't get better than this. And then I finally, I did actually get up to a not great, but decent rank. But what do you think was the thing that like held beginners back? Like why they can't get good?
People will get the game and they'll say, "Hey, I want to be good at Destiny Crucible," but they won't put the time in PvE to get the loot that you would need to, take on a top tier guardian, just like it's a raid. Like you don't go into a raid 50 levels under light and expect you to just mow through the raid. That's just like
Right.
comp. Like you need your double scavengers for whichever sniper or shotgun. You
Mhm.
may need the targeting helmet for which primary you're using. You need the unflinching for your chest. You need the right exotic for whatever you're using.
Mhm.
I like stompies.
Right.
Someone may like Dragon Shadow, someone may like Worm Husk, whether it's a Warlock, someone may like Ophidians, someone may like Transversive Steps, then they're on the Titan. There's the One-Eyed Mask, there's the the Synth Steps, then
Well,
there's
feedback fence if you're that sort of player.
yeah, you could definitely be that guy too, or there's which boots are those? The Antaeus Wars, there's players like that. It's about knowing what you need loot wise for what you are going to do as a player. Like
Right.
someone who's going to be sitting back as a sniper isn't going to need the Antaeus ward sliding shields,
Right.
just like someone who's doing nothing but shotgunning is going to need the line rampants,
Right.
something that's going to make you float the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about having the right loot for each, you have to have your long range set up, your close range, your sniper with either like a last word or your sniper with like a Luna's Howl or Not Forgotten or a Trust. You need like your primary, secondary shotguns. You have to be able to change your loot up for every map and any playstyle a team's using.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just expecting, oh, I got this Not Forgotten shotgun, I'm just going to use this on every map. It's not
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah. That ain't gonna happen.
Yep. And maybe they may not have. This is a really like terrible problem. You may have all the good loot, but you don't have the five super mods that the other team has. And we were talking about this earlier with the whole farming supers back and forth
Mm-hmm.
between teammates. Like, if you don't have the supers to keep up with that, unless you have a team with like someone who's a Kobe Bryant with a suppressor, is like you're not going to be able to do anything against that team.
Right.
They're just going to trample you. And there's nothing you can do to stop it.
So playing your life, getting the right gear, getting the right guns, and once you have super, go in safely, of course, or not maybe not safely, but at least smartly, tactically, and
Yes.
playing with your team.
Yes, and knowing when to hold back in your super, you may get a kill or two here, and you got half of your spectral left. But do you really need to push back farther in that spawn where there's two guys that are going to be spawned up, and there's going to be four people right there, and you're going to die. You're going to run out of your super halfway through of killing the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it really worth dying, or should I go in there and pop this Blade Barrage or this Nova Bomb on this team and make my team orbs, but they got Warcliff, so they shut me down, and I just used my super and didn't create any orbs for my team, even though I just got the kills.
Right. Okay. So we're just playing smart.
Yes.
Cool. It's playing smart, playing with your
And
teammate.
it, yes, and it most of it comes from experience. You can watch streamers, but I mean, never like it becomes a never set your expectations to someone else because some streamers they may hide their skill with playing with better players than them. So you'll think, oh, this guy just runs around with a shotgun. I should be able to do this too. Or all this guy does is sit back and snipe, even though his teammates use their shotguns and are holding all the close engagement for them and making it look easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is why I was talking to you the other day. Like, this is where I would like to make, some type of video of some animations of like an aerial view of a map
Mm-hmm.
with like showing where the engagements are, where the control points of the map are compared to like where heavy and where the spawns are,
Mm-hmm.
like where rifts are going to help you out most in the engagements, where Titan shields are going to be able to stop the right angles, because you may put a Titan shield up, but it's blocking one of the lanes you need to stop them from getting heavy, and while you're sitting back on your Titan shield, they're just laughing at you while they pick up heavy.
Right. Again, being smart with what you have. Okay, so that kind of answers
Yes.
the last thing, but like, what do you think the biggest thing that beginners can do to get better and like just get the right loot, play smart, play with your team?
Yes. What I think people should work on the most is finding which gun works for you, which RPM works for you with your strafe, going left to right and crouching, like I think it's easier to crouch strafe with a not forgotten now that it's a 150 versus a 180 because,
Right.
my hand didn't always, I couldn't press that B on the bottom with how fast I was pressing my right trigger to pull it, and like my strafe was really wonky. Sometimes I would shoot in between my shots and then I'd crouch strafe and then I'd waste my shade step instead of finishing off my 3 tap.
Right.
But there is an area on the EDZ you load in, you go right to the right. There's a bunch of enemies right there. It's whenever the enemies come together
Mm-hmm.
and fight each other. Whenever I first get on, that is the first place I go. I slide around, I make sure I'm hitting my headshots, and I'm not necessarily aiming like center the whole time. I'm trying to make it so that I have to move my analog stick to get over to them, not necessarily lining up my shot before I aim down. Because in Crucible, you're not always going to have the luxury of knowing where your enemy is going to be at, so you need to be able to adjust to where they're at
Right. Definitely.
in any point in time. So start whenever you load up. That's always something you should do, and you
Go.
know maybe go into a quick play match. If it's a game that your team's just getting ran over, you know maybe back out and go to a different one.
Mm-hmm.
And wait till you get in the lobby that you can actually shoot your gun and be progressive with it. And that's a true warm up. Not I'm going in first game on against good players. This is going to be my warm up.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. That does not work.
Yes.
All right, cool. That was all the questions I got. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
If I come up with anything else, I'll definitely keep you posted. But I think we covered a lot,
Yeah.
especially for our first interview.
Yeah, that was sick, man. Thank you so much for that.
No problem, man.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Like
gonna.
I said, I'd love to get it rocking and rolling with some form of educational videos with actually showing people versus just our conversations, because there may be the players out there that whenever I say the word rotation or a flank or something like that, they may not know the end game like meaning of it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And a more detailed video I think would be awesome
Absolutely.
because I like what you're doing.
Well,
I've also talked to a couple other buddies and they like what you're doing.
oh, sick. And yeah, if we figure out a way to do that, just let me know. I'd love to do a second one.
Awesome, man. Sounds good.
All right, cool. I'm gonna head out. Thank you for this. This has been amazing.
Oh, no problem, man.
All right, cool. See ya.